So let's say we come here, we can console, we can log this and say, okay, it should just, if the button we click has a data ID, it should tell us, should just say, yes, I have data ID. Okay. Otherwise, it should just say, just log for us, no, I don't. Okay, if I want to use this, I must be able to uh, change, but I can still use a don't have. Then in that case, I need to make this a double quote. But you know, I can actually, you can use / to actually um, cut that off. But let's just leave it like this. Okay, so if I check this, if I go and so if I click here and go to the console, okay, and I click on this add member, okay, just leave this one. This is the one we worked on earlier, the related target button. So it says no, I don't have data ID, okay, because this is the add new member. You can see it's working well. Okay, and if I click on any of this, let's say I click on this and say yes, I have a data ID. Okay, so I see that this is actually working. Just ignore some of those errors. I'll still look at them. Okay, all right, so now we can be able to go ahead and work on this and display the right form with the right input details, okay, based on whether it's the add member or the edit member button that we clicked. So for this, in a case where we have data ID, which is the edit, we want to call this our title here, okay, and then add the text content. Add the text content there. Because we want to edit, we say edit club member. Okay, and also we can also we also need to get that data ID as well. So we can say let member, can say let member being edited ID equals, we call the button and get the attribute. This time around we're getting the attribute, okay, of the data ID. So we get that and then assign it to this variable member being edited ID. Okay, then we can also on the form, on this form, the form, we can also add the action on this form. Okay, but before we add action on the form, we actually need to have a route. We also need to create a route, but let's just leave that and conclude on the other ones. Then we'll go and create a relevant route. Okay, so I can also add the club. I mean, take anyone here, then students. I call this students ID select, and then add the value. This is a select option. You know, if you remember, all the details are coming from this button that we clicked, so we can get the attribute. And for student ID, we call it data student ID. If you remember from here, okay, that's it. Yeah, this student's data student underscore ID. That's one that gives us the student ID. Okay, and the same way we also want to get this club ID and get the position, get the status as well. Okay, so let's quickly go on that. Then we also take the club ID input, and there we also take the value and then pass that um, details we are getting from the button to the value attribute. I will call this data club ID. Okay, and the same way for the position. Okay, value button dot get attribute, call it data position. Oh, okay, then same way with the status dot value get attribute dot status. Okay, so now we've been able to get these details and pass them to this input. Okay, we can actually try and see if what we did actually worked. We can check here. Okay, so once we click on this, okay, we can see the club member name is here. The heading edit club member is inserted here because that's the text content that we added. The same with the name. Okay, the name was selected because that's one we're editing. The club the student belonged to also selected, the member, and also the status is selected. We need to change this to update. Okay, and if you click another one, this is Cynthia Femi Ade. If you click on it, it's able to get that. Is the first name. Here we're displaying first and last name. Okay, you can see it's musical and art club, which is musical and art club as well here. Okay, so that is working very fine. That is working fine. Let's go and let's go back and also check the button. We have a button here, our add button, which is this, the submit button. Okay, so we also need to, let's just copy that, the submit button. So we also change the text content that we want to change. Okay, so we can say update member. Okay, so that should also be able to update the content of the text content of that button. Okay, so but for now, let me just remove this else. Okay, but for now something is missing. We are not able to get the action where the form is going to be submitted to, as well as even here when we are trying to create the data in the first place, we also have not created the route where it will be sent to. So let's create that route now. Okay, so that's the next thing we are going to do. So we can go to our routes. Okay, and here we have only one route, which is the one that gets our home page. Okay, but we want to add other routes, so I can copy this. I want to add a route for creating a new member, so we can call that this route we are going to call it store, because actually we want to store our the new club member details in the database. So I can add here the membership. I can just put store here. Okay, and I need to also change the name. So index, I will say store. Okay, and the same I can also do for update, and this should be a post. Sorry, I forget. And this I can also say update. I can update update here. Okay, and the update should also be this is the put. I also need one more for deleting. I can call that destroy, but there's also something I've missed. When I want to update, I need an ID. I must miss that. So I need to update with an ID. Okay, the particular data I want to update. So the same way with the delete, I also need to add. So destroy, I need to add an ID, and this is going to be a delete here. Then I can change this one as well to destroy, and I can call this destroy as well. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, let me go to this controller here. So I'm going to create another method here. And I'm going to call this the store. Okay, so this store is going to pass request parameter here, and with this request I can be able to get the details coming from the form. Okay, so let's DD and be sure that we are getting all that we need. Let's check request, and so let's go on and let's go to the modal. Here we need to add pass. We need to pass our route, which is the, let's go to the, which is the store. Okay, so I'm passing this here. So I want to get these details coming from this form. So let's go and check and see if our controller is working as well as the form, whether we are receiving the information from here. So let's say I pick this student and I pick a club in one drama, and I say is a member, and I say it's inactive, and I add. Okay, it looks like nothing's happening. Okay, so let's check. Something is wrong. Okay, the route name is fine. Okay, so let's check the button. Okay, this button should be submit. That's where the problem is. Oh, our button is not inside our form. It's not inside our form, so that's why. So it has to be inside here. Has to be inside the form. Okay. All right. So let's check and be sure it's displaying well. Okay, it's displaying fine. So everything is fine. Let's try again. Let's take another student and see. Okay, yeah, so that's fine. So we're able to get the request is able to come through our controller. We can look at it here. Now in our parameters, you can see the method is post, the token, student ID, club ID, and status. What happened? The position is not coming. Okay, yeah, because okay, so I can see yeah, I'm not able to get this because I didn't put the name property here, which is the position. That's all I need to have here. So let's go again. Let's refresh this page and try to add another. Let's set the student. Okay, we'll click on the add button. Okay, we can see 6. Yeah, so we have the member and all that. So this is looking fine now. So we can be able to add this in our table. So let's go now to our controller. So in our controller, we are going to validate our inputs. Okay, so once we validate our inputs, we'll be able to then save them. So we can say request validate. Okay, inside here we have to pass our we have students, so student ID, and we can make it required. Let me just not complicate the checks. Let's leave it at required. Okay, we can also add also check if it's actually a number. Maybe say it should be an integer, but let's just keep it simple. You can put all sorts of validation there just to check. Okay, so here we can also check the club ID, and the same thing we just say that is required, and position as well. Position required, and status, and also say status is required. Okay, you can put any other validation you want. Even in the position, you can also, if you want to check the number, you can say the max character should not be more than 250. Okay, and for now this is fine. We can go ahead, and then we can now go ahead and create an instance of the model where we want to actually save this, and that's the club member. So we can say new club member, and we can pass this, save it in a variable, and we can call that variable member. Okay, so that's the, and we import this. It's imported. Okay, yeah. So we can then save each of these variables coming from the request. So check the student ID equals request student ID. Okay, and the same way we do for the club, we do for the position, we do for the status. So for the student and for the club, we'll say club ID. For the position, okay, and for the status, all right. So once we are done, we'll need to also call the save method to save all our data in the database, and also we then need to either redirect, okay, to a route, which is our index route. Okay, but before then I want to call my toast, the toast library, and here I can say student added successfully. Okay, and when I put the success data here, okay, so now I can return redirect to the route. I want to return to my index route. Okay, so let's check the route. What's the route name, which is this. Can pass it here, and we cannot just pass it alone. If you recall here, this route actually requires the student as well as the club data. So I can just pass the same data here. And for me to pass this data here, I also need this student here. Okay, so I can provide that somewhere up here. And change this to, instead of all, let me use the where clause here, and check for when the status is 1. Okay, so I will now get this details here. Okay, and the same way as I think I can also replace this one here as well. So getting all the students, I should only get students that are still active. Okay, so I will redirect to this. Okay, that's fine. All right. Okay, so let's try and see if we're able to save data here. Oh, sorry. Okay, let me clear it. Let me refresh it. Okay, so let's add a new. Okay, we have 3 here. Let's add owl here. So I select the chess club, and let's say he is the president of the club, and let's say he's active. I can add that. Okay, so this is added successfully, and that is in here. Okay, as the president. So the add member is now working very well. Okay, so what we're going to look at now is how to edit. Okay, so for the edit, let's which is the update, where we want to update our data. So we can go here. So for our update, it's going to be similar to this store. So what I can do, I'll just copy this for the update. I'm going to change this to update. I need to add the ID that is coming from the update address, this ID that is going to come from here. So we need to receive it here. So with that, what I can do, okay, this is still fine, but instead of calling the an instance of the model, what we can do here is to actually call this model and look for, we can use find or fill and pass the ID there, and then once we have that member, only then can we make these changes. We'll get the student ID and save the one we are having from the form. We'll save them and it's still the same. So once you save, we can only say student updated successfully, and we can still redirect to this index. That's fantastic. Okay, so that's fine. And what is left for us to do now is when we're creating or trying to save the form details of the new student or new club member, we added the route here. But in this case, for our edit, we're actually coming from the script. So how do we then add the action? How do we tell it that is a post or is a put this time? Okay, so that's what we're going to do. And first, let's go from here. First, we need to get our URL, our base URL. Okay, because once we go to, we have this URL, you can see there is a URL here before. We have a base URL, which is this Laravel student.test, before we added our route. Okay, so we need to get this base URL and then add this route to it, add our update route, which is this. Okay, but before then we have to add our base URL and then we add this route to it. So let's see. So we create a base URL and say const base URL, and you can use the URL method and then pass this to it, and this will be able to give us our base URL. This is vanilla JavaScript. This is normal JavaScript syntax. So we're able to have this. So once we have this, we can also go ahead and let's say here and call the form. Let's say form.action. Then use backtick, and then we'll pass the base URL here. Base URL. Then after the base URL, then we can add admin. And the next thing we say students. Let's see how it is here. Students club. Okay, we can even pick. I just got it from here. Okay. Okay, then we need to pass this ID here, and this ID we actually have it here. Okay, somewhere here. Let's bring it up. Let's bring it here before. Okay, so we have it because this is the data ID, which is the member being edited, the ID of the member being edited. So what we can do is to pass this here. Okay, so we can actually pass this ID here. So with this, we'll be able to get our route. Okay, how do we want to, or what are we trying to do? Are we trying to get a view? Are we trying to post our form, or we're trying to update, which is put? So we can call the form and also pass this query selector to get input, and the input here is going to have the name. Okay, and we use underscore method. Then we get the value and assign it to put, or assign put to the value. So this is how you can be able to select this method. We're trying to get this method, okay, from the script. So this is how you can select it, that the input name is equals to underscore method and then dot value, because actually it's the value that we want to assign this put to. Okay, so once we've done this, we have the put, we have the method, we have the route. So we are very much ready to go. Okay, the CSRF token is still here, so it's going to still be used here. We don't need to change it. It's not going to change. Okay, so let's save and check if we can edit. So let's hot reload by pressing Ctrl F5. Okay, so let's try to edit this member. Okay, let's say instead of member I called him maybe secretary, and okay, let me just save that, and instead of this club, let's say is a book club now. Okay, saying updated successfully, and dancing here is a book club, is a secretary, and now it's updating